All-inclusive eats? Sign me up. There is a lot to eat on a Disney cruise, some included, some very costly. So I'm taking you with me through every bite. I am on the Disney Dream sailing out of Port Miami, and we're gonna find out what's worth looking forward to and what to expect from Disney Cruise Line food. I'm taking you through everything that I eat on this cruise, and that starts with my very first stop at Cabanas. Cabanas is one of the more casual dining options here on the Disney Dream. It is a buffet-focused spot, serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And right now, they're serving up the Sail Away buffet since we were able to board relatively early, and we sail away in a couple of hours. The vibe of Cabanas is very beachy. They have these awesome sand sculptures in the wall that are castles from the Disney parks around the world. And they even have clocks that say what time it is in the different Disney parks around the world. There is indoor and outdoor seating at Cabanas with an extensive indoor space and a limited, but not even full right now, outdoor space. So pretty nice. I really like the palm trees that are inside. There are Cabanas locations on most Disney ships, barring the Wish. And I remember going to Cabanas on the Wonder as a little kid, and I freaked out about the fact that there are palm trees inside. So I've always been easy to please. I remember I literally just told Cassie about how I remember being really excited about the palm trees inside when I was a little kid in the Cabanas location on the Disney Wonder, and I stand by it. Yeah, I find it exciting.
I feel very excited to see it.
Look at that, in the shade.
I'm about to eat my single chicken.
This is a children's plate.
No, I'm out of stir.
That actually does look compelling. It's various. It's very beige. This is the beige course.
I'm warming up my palate.
Understandable. The buffet is extensive. There's pizza and carved meats and salads and tons of desserts and tons of sides and sandwiches and subs and stir fry. Seafood. Oh, there were crab claws. A very extensive buffet. I'm starving, so I'm going to go make a plate. We'll see what happens. Anything could happen at this point. I ended up getting shrimp with cocktail sauce, mac and cheese, fried rice, tabbouleh, couscous, I think? No. Yes. Buttered snap peas, some of the carved roast with too much horseradish, olives, because who am I if not an olive eater, asparagus, and caprese salad. Basically, you can do whatever you want at a buffet. Oh, except get silverware, apparently. I did not get silver. That's really nice of you. I'm just going to get up and go get some. Leave my excessive olives and horseradish alone.
At Cabanas, you are free to do what you want, and one of those options is accidentally putting all of your red pepper in one location.
I can't wait for you to take that bite of pizza. Oh, you committed.
I'm okay.
You're okay. You survived it. My first bite of food on the Disney Dream is the roasted steam ship with horseradish. I put a lot of horseradish on that. I love a carved meat with just straight horseradish. And this isn't cocktail sauce, it's just horseradish because I could load it up with how much I wanted, which was apparently too much, but it's fine. Really high quality. It was freshly carved right in front of me. I could tell them exactly how much I wanted. This is huge beef roast, which was jaw-dropping when I walked past it the first time. Definitely a killer option. Next up, I have the buttered snap peas. Super fresh, super crunchy. I like sweet pea flavor. I could eat 116 of those. And I could do that because it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. And next up, I have the tabbouleh salad. It's the very, very small, almost granular couscous. So it's definitely texturally a little more like that, super small, sort of very grain-like feel to it. I prefer bigger couscous, but it has good flavor. I think there's olive oils on it, and it tastes like there's red onion and stuff inside of it, so that's very, very good. I could eat a lot of that as well. I also love olives, so I got the marinated mixed olives. So my grandpa always said that asparagus was finger food. I have to agree with him. Maybe not fully, but in honor of my grandpa, I'm going to eat this with my hands. Very buttery, slightly seasoned, well-cooked asparagus. Mine got cold very, very quickly. I haven't been away from the buffet that long, so I wish I would have eaten that first, but otherwise very fresh tasting. The mac and cheese is on the basic side looking wise. I haven't tasted it yet, but it's definitely on the basic side. Like, it's a more basic mac and cheese with that super creamy, like super cheesy sauce. But the cheese has really gotten all up in the noodles. It's making me salivate, wanting more of the cheese. Does it hold a candle to the Gasparilla Island Grill mac and cheese in Disney World? That's my favorite in all of Disney World? No. Would I eat a ridiculous amount of this? Yes, also. Vegetable fried rice. Sorry. That's a lot better than I was expecting. I was expecting it to be like not very flavorful, kind of just like rice with a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of vegetables. It does taste like pretty good fried rice, not like fried rice from your favorite like Chinese delivery in your town, but more like fried rice from the Chinese place in your mall. That's what it tastes like. And you can't knock that because it's pretty good. Better than Panda Express. Next up is this way too big bite of caprese salad. It's fine. The serving was a little too light on the basil. I found it difficult to get it served like with enough basil for me to be happy. And I'm not sure there's any balsamic vinegar on it, which is like my favorite part that ties the whole caprese salad together. So I probably wouldn't go back for seconds on that one. But the mozzarella had great texture and the tomatoes taste very fresh and flavorful. My complaint so far with the cocktail shrimp is they do not come peeled or any veins, so I just had to do that, which I would rather have my shrimp prepped. That's hard to say, shrimp prepped. But there's cocktail sauce, so hopefully it's got a kick to it. Tasty shrimp, a more mild cocktail sauce. Actually, it's got a little kick to it. If I wanted to, I could add some more of the horseradish I have left over on my plate from the meat. But I don't know, pretty tasty. I just don't like having to like peel my shrimp by hand for everything that I'm gonna eat. So I would maybe stick to like 3 or 4 of these shrimp instead of getting a bunch. It was a pretty good plate of food. How was yours?
Mine was pretty incredible.
Pretty incredible?
And I just checked the schedule too. It seems that it's Jello o'clock.
Oh, it's Jello o'clock. Well, gotta go. There's something happening here. There are lots of great dessert options on the dessert bar. All of them are like these little cups, and then they'll hand you which one you want, which I really like because it doesn't have like the whole stranger's hands thing of a buffet besides the workers. So I did just get the Jello. It looks like it's probably orange, perhaps lemon and orange. We'll have to find out. And it's just scientifically proven that Jello in cubes in a little bowl like this tastes better. That's just science. Cheers. Oh no. You landed on your plate, it's good. Jello time. It just tastes better in little cubes. It's true. Like it's just the fact. I think that is lemon. Like the yellow, I think is lemon.
Yellow was giving me like a lemon.
Yeah. And the orange is orange. Yeah, this is awesome. It's a very light dessert, and maybe I'm saving room for second dessert. You don't know. Cassie just said to me that the weird Jello side pieces that are a little crunchier are the better part of the Jello.
Hold on. Let's not get wild and sad.
She said they were good.
I said I kind of enjoyed them. It's like the side of a brownie.
That's not what it's like. That's not what it's like.
I'm representing for
No one
my
wants
Jello corner pieces.
no one wants Jello corner pieces. If you eat Jello corner pieces and enjoy it, please tell me in the comments. Final thoughts on Cabanas. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was an awesome buffet. Easily better than some of my least favorite buffets in Disney World, like Hollywood and Vine. I do like buffets like Tusker House and Boma a little more, just because they had a little more variety. But I was very pleased with the variety and the quality of food, especially for such a massive buffet. So I liked Cabanas. I would go again. My little self being excited about palm trees was absolutely right. I'm on the way to check out my room for the first time, and I'm passing by Ice Cream Treats, which is where I get unlimited self-serve soft serve. So I did grab myself a vanilla cone. It's so good. Classic Disney Cruise Line soft serve. I got just vanilla, but there's also chocolate swirl. And again, I can have as much of this as I want on the cruise, which is a horrible idea. Who authorized me to have as much soft serve as I want? Oh, it's delicious. Now I'm off to see my room, and if you want to see my room and more of this amazing ship, you can check it all out in my 20 must-dos on the Disney Cruise Line video, where I take you through a lot of my experience, including those must-dos. Costume change. We are headed up to Remy, which is one of the adult-only dining experiences, to try out just a small tasting of that menu. Remy is an upcharge experience, but they do have a very fancy sort of meal that's available for adults only. So we're gonna head up there and try some of it out. I'm very excited. Disrespectful to the staff. Remy is an amazing experience. It's similar to Enchanté, the experience that I had on the Disney Wish. If you want to see that entire experience with my full review of it, and even getting photobombed by one of the top 10 chefs in the entire world, Chef Arnaud Lamont, you can see that in my Disney Wish food video. Chef Arnaud Lamont actually also worked at Remy along with Scott Hummel, who is the lead chef at Victoria and Albert's, two extremely well-known chefs, very renowned. So an amazing team behind this restaurant. Remy, of course, is themed after Remy the Rat from Ratatouille, and there are little touches of the rat throughout the restaurants which are totally adorable, but it still feels very upscale. My favorite thing that I learned about Remy is that they do actually have two of the extremely fancy rare wines that are featured in the Ratatouille movie. One of them is the wine that Linguini gets drunk off of when Chef Skinner is trying to get him to talk, and the other is the wine that Anton Ego orders with his food, the food critic at the end, and both of those bottles are sitting in the fridge at Remy. As for the food, we had a small selection, but it was small but mighty. First, we started off with a champagne cocktail, which is kind of their welcome beverage when guests come to Remy. It was a very nice champagne. It had Grand Marnier, vodka, and a few other things. I absolutely loved the flavor of this. It was a little bit bitter. And the very cool thing about this is they added a candied piece of pineapple to it that made it bubble more and made all the flavors come out really well. So I absolutely loved that. The first bite we had to eat was basically a solid breaded cube that had tomato soup inside. And so when you bit into it, it was both the solid and the liquid. Hot soup came out of it. I mean, it was like eating a bowl of soup in one bite. It was very, very cool and very tasty. I could have eaten like 10 of those, but the chef there did tell me it takes about 3 days for them to make that. So maybe 10 would be, that would take what, 12 days? I guess they could make more than one at once. Anyway, it was very good. The next thing they brought us was basically like a beef ravioli situation, but the fanciest beef ravioli you've ever had in your life. Honestly, this one wasn't that memorable, but the flavor was like spectacular. I remember really, really liking it, but it wasn't like, this wasn't the standout for me. I liked pretty much everything else we ate a little bit better than this, but still extremely tasty. Then we got moved into the Gusto room, which was amazing. Now this is the room they use for their chef's table at Remy, which Remy already is an upcharged experience at $125 per person. The chef's table, even more expensive. So this was a very, very fancy room. It was heavily themed to be like an homage to the Ratatouille movie. There were views of the kitchen from Ratatouille, views of Paris with Gusto's restaurant, a giant G in the floor for Gusto, so a very cool room, and of course had those beautiful ocean views. In this room, we got to try a Chardonnay off of their wine list that was hands down the best Chardonnay I've ever had in my entire life. They also brought us another of their meat courses, which had this very cool like lattice work situation, and there was truffle in this dish. Absolutely fabulous dish as well. The chef was making a joke at how quickly everybody ate theirs. Texturally, this one was really interesting because the actual like meats part of the dish and the softer part of the dish was very like easy to eat, kind of melts in your mouth, and then the last part was sort of difficult to crunch through, and together it made it a really texturally interesting dish. And then finally we had the dessert course where they did bring us out a very beautiful port wine, which was super, super sweet. I'm not a huge port person, but it was a very high quality wine. And then this amazing kind of three-tiered Nutella-ish dessert. It basically had like some peanut butter vibes, some Nutella vibes, and that is a whole hazelnut on top. This was decadent. My mouth was expecting just like, you know, a cream puff, and it was so good. Like, I could have eaten 4 more of these as well. So my small tasting at Remy, though small, was very, very good, and I think a memorable experience. If you're not a fine dining person, Remy's probably a skip. To get a better idea of an experience like this, you can watch Breedlove and I review Victoria and Albert's, or you can watch my review of Enchanté over on the Disney Wish during my Disney Wish food video. Both of those will help you get an idea of what to expect in a place like Remy and decide if it's right for you and if it's worth the splurge, because it's pricey. Our next food stop is going to be the first of our rotational dining experiences. The way dinners work on Disney Cruise Line is with rotational dining. So every night of your cruise, you rotate through the feature restaurants on the ship that you're on. So on the Disney Dream, that's the Enchanted Garden, Animator's Palette, and Royal Palace. Tonight, we have Enchanted Garden. I am very, very excited for my meal here. I hear the restaurant's absolutely beautiful, so let's go check it out inside. We're here a few minutes early for Enchanted Garden, and as you can see, there are a lot of people, but they were kind of all backed up just because the restaurant wasn't quite open yet. It opened 5 minutes prior to dining time. We have the later dinner. You can opt for an earlier dinner or a later dinner. We opted for the later, so we eat at 8:15, and the doors opened, and this line moved into the restaurant pretty quickly, so don't be too scared of those big crowds at the start of your dining time. So Enchanted Garden is a restaurant that focuses on more market fresh ingredients and sort of floral flavors. It's a garden-inspired menu. And then as you can see, you're sort of dining in this like elegant conservatory. It's supposed to be designed after one that would sit in the foothills of France. So you can see custom glass flower lights, white trellises, ornamental posts, and a beautiful 7-foot tall cascading fountain that has a stone Mickey Mouse at the top. The other exciting thing about this restaurant is that the lighting that comes through the ceiling does change from morning to night. You get more of a dawn feel in here if you come in if it's open for breakfast or lunch, which does vary. You can check your navigator to find out, to the evening lighting, which is what we have here for dinner. The benefit of that rotational dining is that you do seat at the same number table every night, so our number is 81, and you have the same server and drinks team following you. So they do get to know you over the course of the cruise, get to know your preferences, and oftentimes can have a little bit of fun with you. I have very fond memories of my server from the first Disney cruise I went on back when I was like a little kid, and I still remember having fun and the magic tricks he did. I'm trying out the bread with the spread that is chickpea garlic puree. The bread I chose is definitely one of the more unique options that came in the basket. There is an assortment. Super crusty and crunchy on the outside, very soft and a little bit warm on the inside. Not really a stellar roll. There's not a ton of flavor. The texture's fine, but it's not anything special. I actually really like the chickpea garlic spread. It's kind of mild, but it has a nice kick of flavor. And there's also plain butter too, so bread gets a thumbs up. And I also got a Coke, because energy. So Cassie got the cucumber garden roll, which is filled with julienne of carrots, bell peppers, and zucchini, and then flavored with cilantro with a white shoyu and lemon dressing. And there were 2, but she ate one very quickly.
I think the strongest, most forthright flavors were the cucumber and the bell peppers. I didn't feel like the sauces, the lemon dressing, and the cilantro were really present, but I do think it was really fresh and light. Like, I think it's definitely a good appetizer if you're looking for something kind of lighter for your upcoming meal. Not something that's gonna like push you over the edge and make you feel like, oof, I don't know if I can handle my soup, my entree, my dessert, and my after dessert martini. But and then your unlimited soft serve. And then your unlimited soft serve, of course.
And for my appetizer, I went with the ahi tuna and avocado tower that has crispy noodles and wasabi dressing. This one was recommended by our server, so I don't know. I love ahi tuna. I'm interested in what's going on here. Tuna cheers. Very high quality tuna. I have had tuna that tastes a little metallic. This does not taste that way at all. Super buttery tuna. This is cold, so there's all the avocado and tuna all together. It's very softish, which makes the noodles a really nice addition because they add the crunch. The wasabi dressing is honestly nothing too crazy at all. Cassie got the tomato basil bisque, which looks very good, and she got it with some croutons added. And then I went for the asparagus soup because I don't know if I've ever had asparagus soup, and it sounded interesting to me. I do love asparagus. Unlike the actual asparagus from earlier, asparagus soup is not a finger food. Ooh, that's really good. This like tastes comforting. Like I want to eat this when I'm sick. It mostly just tastes like asparagus, but it's kind of like a vegetable soup, but without the tomato-ness is the main flavor I'm getting, which I kind of like because vegetable soup usually has like a lot of tomato flavor to it. And this is just like a super comforting, super tasty, like mild asparagus flavor, very warm. I dig it.
Similar to Quincy's, the tomato is very comforting and it makes you feel like that scene in Ratatouille. Whenever Anton Ego has his childhood memory flashback, it's a really nice tomato soup. Very like kind of, I think I've had a lot of tomato soups that are far like lighter. This feels more akin to like tomato-based sauce, something you would dip like a cheese stick in, which I don't mind. I do wish that the croutons hadn't softened up so quickly, but it's very delicious.
For our entrees, I got the pan-seared sea bass with fava bean and pea risotto, sliced fennel, and a dill chive Riesling wine sauce. Sea bass it's the Chilean sea bass, and this is a very like well-known dish on Disney Cruise Line for being delicious. I had this at the Frozen restaurant on the Disney Wish, and it was my favorite thing that I ate on board when it came to entree portions. And then Cassie got the slow roasted prime rib, which is carved and served with thyme roasted vegetables, a double baked potato, natural jus, and horseradish, and it looks amazing. It was also cooked to order. Right, I've gotten a little bite with a little bit of everything. It's so delicious. The fish is perfectly cooked, very white and flaky. It falls apart in your mouth, but it has a really nice crust on it that's like golden. Tons of great flavor. Everything just tastes really buttery, but at the same time not overly heavy. If you like white fish, I highly recommend getting the sea bass entree at one of your rotational dinings. I think it's only at this restaurant on the Dream when you're on the Disney Cruise. The sea bass is just, it's killer.
I feel like whenever you order any cut of steak, it can be kind of fickle because you don't know if it really is going to be cooked the way you order it. And then you can typically tell from that first cut. This steak is really nice. I think that the sauce is really what is setting it over the top. I think the double baked potato left a little to be desired. I think anytime you have a baked potato, you typically expect it to be a little bit more rich, buttery, kind of savory. And this was a lot lighter. It wasn't really full of butter or salt. But I do think that the vegetables, especially whenever they're like in that sauce, are really nice and savory.
Oh my god.
You're embarrassing me.
Listen.
So Cassie and I actually shared our dessert because we are very full from our entrees and double appetizer situation. The good news is because this restaurant's all inclusive, you can do whatever you want. You could get all the desserts. Or if you're like us, you can share. So we got the sticky date pudding, which looks amazing.
It is if you're on a date. So if you're not a date person, it's not so much that you wouldn't.
Are you asking me out? I got a bite of everything all together. I really like this. Cassie said she wasn't sure like it's a for her thing. It is very date forward on the flavor. What that's doing for me though is it's giving kind of the richness of chocolate but without the chocolate flavor.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not a chocolate person. So this is like a dessert that I can like get that richness from. My favorite part is the fact that it's a warm pudding with a cold ice cream.
A worm pudding.
Not a worm pudding. I love warm and cold desserts together, and this is definitely checking those boxes. And also the caramel sauce is amazing. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of this. I would get this again, definitely.
I think texturally it's really nice, and again, I like a warm kind of pudding cake vibe. I like something paired with ice cream. It's not that it's not good are not necessarily for me. I think it would be a challenging dessert if you're a picky eater.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, final thoughts on Enchanted Garden. I actually really enjoyed this spot. One thing about the Dream as compared to the Wish are that the restaurants don't feel as heavily themed as they do on the Wish. And I was expecting that to kind of bum me out, but this restaurant is still absolutely gorgeous. It really does feel like you're sitting in like this beautiful like trellised garden conservatory, and there's these wonderful like screens and the lighting changes and the ceiling is nice as a demonstration. And then my food was very good. I find with cruise restaurants, what you can expect is that you're going to eat like nicer dishes than you would usually eat, but they're making them en masse, so they can be a little, like the quality can be a little not as there. So the dish itself might be a little fancier, but the quality of the food coming out en masse can be a little sketchy. I absolutely loved my Chilean sea bass. Our appetizers were pretty good, and then I really, really liked our dessert as well. So Enchanted Garden was a win. We'll see if the other two rotational dining spots hold up. All right, day 2 of my Disney Dream cruise. We're back at Cabanas just to grab a quick breakfast. We are headed to Castaway Cay today, which is Disney's private island, but gotta fuel up with something small. As you can see, the signs change for breakfast, so you've got surfing U.S. eggs, totally toasted. Longboard pancakes, yum. Bosun's breakfast. Land's End breakfast of the world. Yum. Oh, sausage gravy? That's a horrible idea before going to swim all day. And then a cute little like build your own granola bar or oatmeal bar, yogurt, fruit. So lots of great options for the breakfast in the morning. There's also an omelet station. A couple little like grab and goes, special overnight oats, and then more of the same from up earlier, waffles, of course Mickey waffles. Cassie and I stopped for a light breakfast. We had different ideas of what a light breakfast was.
My appetizers, a Danish fish.
That would be like my whole breakfast. That looks really good though. The way you bit into that looked exciting. So I just grabbed some of the breakfast potatoes with red peppers. They look seasoned. The creamy eggs, just for science, I had to test the buffet eggs. A sausage link because I love sausage, and some syrup, which is for my sausage because that's the only way to eat sausage. Then also the grits because I really wanted to try the grits. I know I did not get Mickey waffles, though they were available. I'm not a huge waffles person, and I also can't eat that much in the morning, so this is my small light breakfast. Starting with the grits. Those are fine. The consistency is good. They're definitely on the more like basic side of grits. They're completely unseasoned. I added salt and pepper. I can tell that my salt and pepper was all that's in there. I would love to add cheese. I couldn't find cheese and I did give up, but I'm sure it is up there that I could grab. Cassie's now eating her eggs with the strawberry combo.
I didn't think that you were going to air that out live.
Yeah, she said she didn't think that I was going to air that out live. I think you all need to know that she's still doing it.
This is not a reflection of Disney Food Blog. AJ, I'm sorry. This is my formal apology to everyone watching that I did this.
She's still doing it.
I'm so sorry for my actions today. But I won't stop.
Syrup sausage. Sausage with maple syrup is probably one of my favorite breakfast foods. And the thing about buffet sausage is it can still be really good. This is a really good, really like chunky sausage link. And then it is maple syrup and not like, super corn syrupy syrup. So we added that. Eggs. I was expecting them to be like, really off-putting texturally, but they have nice texture. They're fluffy. They're still buffet eggs, so, not the best thing in the world. Try breakfast potato. Well cooked, well seasoned, has peppers in it. I feel like you can't go wrong with breakfast potatoes. And that's breakfast at Cabanas. Now, of course, before heading to the island for the day, gotta fuel up. So we are stopping for coffee just off of the main lobby on the floor above the third, which is also known as the fourth, is Vista Cafe, which is a super cute little coffee shop. Now, these specialty coffees are extra. They cost extra, an additional fee, but you can get regular coffee unlimited on the ship. I just like a latte. All right, after a somewhat tragic stint of snorkeling, which you can see in my must-dos on the Disney cruise. Oh, hey.
Pina coladas never made me feel this way.
It's so good.
It's so good. I mean, I don't want to be like, oh, it's so good. I want to tell you how it tastes. Who's going to like it? But right now I'm thinking about me and they pina coladas. So.
But after my somewhat tragic stint in the snorkeling lagoon, I'm now here for another eat. Well, actually, it's a sip at Heads Up Bar at Pelican Point. You can see this is a beautiful bar that you can see views all around. And you can see the ship. It's amazing. And they have some amazing drinks and some amazing bartenders. And I'm going to sample a few of them.
Hello there everyone, my name is Dragos, I'm from Romania, and I'm going to be your bartender in our amazing island, Kestoiki. By the way, welcome to Kestoiki and welcome to Heads Up Bar. The chuka. Oh, it's caramel pina colada. All my pleasure. Please enjoy.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
The shuka, this is basically a caramel pina colada. I was a little sketched, caramel and pineapple together, but I liked that sip. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's like a grown-up caramely milkshake, but also with pineapple and coconut, and it's refreshing and not like heavy tasting like a milkshake would be. I think I like the Conch Cooler a little better just because I'm more into like fruitier flavors and like caramelly sweet flavors. But if I wanted like just a dessert drink, this is great. Alright, I've got the Conch Cooler, which is light and dark rum with tropical fruit juices. It's pina colada and mango is what he said. Oh my goodness. This is exactly what I want an island drink to be. It is mango-y and like I can taste the rum but not too much, and it's just like a grown-up slushy. I would love to sit I am sitting right here. View of the ship, view of the beach with this in my hand. It's definitely on the sweet side, definitely a beach drink, so that's not your jam. As for something else, they've got a pretty full bar here, but this is definitely my jam when I'm standing on a beach in the Bahamas. All right, so the chocolate and liqueur tasting that I had at Pink was really, really fun. The first thing that we had was a red blend from California, Napa Valley. It was made with Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, and Merlot. And this was a very good wine. It was extremely peppery and bitter, but it paired awesome. It was served with dark chocolate, caramel chocolate, and white chocolate. Paired really, really well with those, and it was really cool getting talked through how you're supposed to taste chocolate, how you're supposed to taste wine, and finding out what those are really supposed to taste like. The next thing that we tried here was stepping up in the alcohol a little bit, a port wine. Kind of has the burn of alcohol, but it's super, super sweet, just like any port wine was. This was a very good port wine. It had a lot of like caramelness to it, a lot of sort of molassesy flavor. I'm not a huge port person. I really liked this. And this was paired with a Parmigiano Reggiano that he said they steal right out of the Palo kitchen. I absolutely love this. I thought it was a fabulous pairing as well. This was my favorite of everything. And when he asked everyone at the end what their favorite was, this was most people's favorites. The next pairing, we doubled the alcohol percentage. So we went from around 20% with the port to around 40% with the tasting of Grand Marnier, which is an orange liqueur. You might know the Grand Marnier from the Grand Marnier Slush in France, in Epcot. This one was really alcoholic. It was a little difficult to get through it. It was paired really nicely with a sort of like softened, meltier, I want to say butterier, but it wasn't butterier. It was fattier because they added olive oil to it. Version of the chocolate from the first one, but just the caramel and the white chocolate. And this was really fun because he had us pour a little bit of our Grand Marnier in our chocolate, which we were all like, all right, wild. And it was so good. And then had us drop a little piece of the Parmigiano Reggiano in. And I felt like Remy in that scene from Ratatouille where he puts the things in his mouth and it makes the colors. And then the final pairing was a very rich, very dark, very bitter chocolate with a nice chocolate stick. And then that was paired with a whiskey, a $300 bottle of whiskey from McLaren that you can only get duty free at airports. So it's a pretty difficult bottle to get as well. I am not a whiskey drinker. I've had some experiences with whiskey that I would like not to repeat, so I don't really drink it at all anymore. That said, I did find this easier to drink than most whiskey. It definitely tasted like it was more top shelf than what I usually drink. So I really enjoyed this tasting. I learned a lot about the kind of things that I wouldn't typically drink. I'm not a big like liqueurs person, or like port wine isn't my thing, but I had to learn a lot about some stuff I wouldn't usually drink, a lot about the process of how it's made, and a lot about how that kind of like liquor and wine pairs with different like chocolates and cheese, which was awesome. And the cast members are so knowledgeable. These pairings are an upcharge on your cruise. They have tons of them though. There are martini tastings, whiskey tastings, bourbon tastings. I saw one for mojitos and caprina, which I think is how you say that. I saw one for wine, of course. There's a beer tasting. I did a beer tasting on the Wish. You can kind of like pick your poison in that regard, and the cast members are so knowledgeable. You're sure to learn something. I just saw lightning. Wild. So definitely look into that if you are 21 and up and you do drink. Look into some of those pairings. They even have one that's called Kickstart Your Day here, where you get a Bloody Mary and then a tasting of like special blended juices. So really cool stuff. I highly recommend looking into it. I've had an absolute blast the times that I've done pairings on Disney cruise ships. I just think it's a great way to spice up your experience, and a little way that grown-ups can have some fun and learn. All right, Royal Palace is the second rotational dining that we visited. This one is going to be themed around four of the princesses: Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, and Snow White. You see this beautiful tile on the floor, and it's going to feature a menu of French-inspired foods, and it's considered the fanciest of the three rotational dining spots. All right, I've got the bread service here. What is this?
Herb brioche with an olive spread.
This is an herb brioche with an olive spread. You know I love olives. The olive spread has a heavy black olive flavor. It's not overly tangy, it's pretty mild, like black olives. And the herb brioche is super soft with just the right amount of flaky crust. I like this one better than the one at Enchanting Garden as bread services go. For Pirate Night, there is a special souvenir cup. This guy was $8. I just got a Coke in him. He lights up, he's a skull, he's super spooky. I don't know, I feel like these are fun souvenir cups, but also I get yelled at when I bring souvenir cups home. Oh, now it's definitely worth it. Pirate Mickey's on there. Arr.
Snail. Let's do some snaction. That's snail action.
What am I doing?
Snaction.
What is snaction?
Snail action. It's whenever your escargot is your appetizer and it's your snack. And it's snaction.
That was much better than I was expecting.
Expectations were low tonight, apparently.
Obviously, the escargot is one of the more adventurous entrees here. I've had escargot before and I do like it. If you have not had escargot before, I'd say you will like it if you're into clams or mussels. Especially like that texture is what you like, because that's really what the texture of snails is. It just obviously doesn't have a fishy flavor. Most of the flavor I'm getting here is from the mushrooms and the garlic and the seasoning that's on top. These are really spectacular. I'm actually really happy with this appetizer. It might be one of my favorite things I've eaten on the cruise so far. Is that dramatic? Is it weird that I'm saying that about snails?
Salud. I think that my expectations for deep fried brie were, I was really excited about it because it's like, you know, fried cheese. It's a very popular dish for many people. I think the fruit preserves are what make it unexpected, and like, it's not a combination I would typically think to pair, but I think it works really well. And it kind of makes it more, like, it feels like you're on a cruise eating something a bit more elevated and different. So I enjoy it. I do think that whenever you get this plate, you see your preservatives and you're like, how am I supposed to dip it? So I went with the method of putting it on top. And I think it's really nice. The fruit is nice. It's very much like jam.
Oh. A foul, a soup foul. I don't know what to do. I'm stressed by my soup situation. French onion soup time. It's a fine French onion soup. I really like that the cheese on top is Gruyere. I can taste it pretty, it like holds up pretty strongly against the broth of the soup. It's a little over salted, which is not, like, I like heavy salt too. Not like heavy, but it's a little over salted. It's fine. It's gonna blow you away, French onion soup, but it's included, so.
Taj Parmentier. Ooh. I think that's very much in the same vein as, like, I mean, it is a potato soup. It's like a baked potato soup. I think that if you're a picky eater and you see a leek as part of the element of soup, don't let it throw you off. It's a nice soup. I think it's a good, like, warm-up for our entree.
My main course here is the oven-baked salmon royale, which is crowned with king smoked salmon and horseradish crust, accompanied by sautéed Swiss chard, truffled cauliflower puree, and white wine beurre blanc. And Cassie got the roasted filet steak, crushed new potatoes with shallots, buttered green beans, red wine jus, and a béarnaise sauce on the side. Salmon time. It's very well-cooked salmon. Kind of like the soup, it's a little over-salted, but not so much that it's like off-putting to me necessarily. I really like it with the sauce and the horseradish crust, although, shocker, I wish it was a little more horseradishy. It's very well-cooked salmon. I eat a lot of salmon at home. Anytime it goes on sale, we buy it and make salmon. I maybe wouldn't order this again just because it does just taste like salmon, which I could have seen coming. The cauliflower puree and the chard and the mushrooms. Ooh. Very good. I actually ended up deciding on this. One, because Cassie got the other thing that I was thinking about, and two, because the sides really sold me, and I'm glad that I made the decision. The side is awesome. This cauliflower puree with the veggies, very good. Super soft, super smooth. There's a little bit of crunch from the chard.
I didn't intend to get another steak, but it was what our server recommended tonight. I think this was a really good steak. I actually preferred it to the steak I had at Enchanted Gardens. Both were cooked perfectly. The red wine was really nice. The béarnaise sauce was also really nice. Both were really rich and savory and flavorful. The mashed potatoes were pretty much exactly what you'd expect. They were nothing special. I do like the shallots. I think the presentation of them are nice. And the green beans are a pretty good vegetable because it's not like, it's nothing really exciting, but it's also, if you're not a green bean fan, you're not going to hate them. They're just a buttered vegetable. You're not going to be unhappy nor thrilled, but overall it's a pretty good dish.
All right, so I got the Tahitian vanilla creme brulee, which comes with an almond biscotti. And if you get it without the almond biscotti, this is gluten-free, which is awesome. And Cassie got the apple tart tatin, which is a caramelized baked apple with vanilla ice cream. All right, I'm getting a bite of the creme brulee with a little bit of everything. Oh, this is a good creme brulee. This is a very classic creme brulee, extremely well made. Sometimes if a creme brulee is made wrong, the custard can taste a little eggy. This doesn't taste like that at all. The sugar is perfectly caramelized to exactly the right texture. There's a strawberry on it. I love the almond biscotti. I chose this because William, our server, told me to, and I trust him. And he was right.
This apple tart is basically like a fancy apple pie. It's like an apple pie presented in a different way. And the warmth of the apple paired with the coldness of the ice cream, it's that classic dessert combo that will please anybody.
Final thoughts on Royal Palace. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great experience. The theme is very fun, and I think kids, especially princess-loving kiddos, will especially love getting to dine in a restaurant that is primarily inspired by the ballroom in Cinderella. Amazing. I will say that the theme, if you're not at the right table, can be a little bland. There's a beautiful chandelier in the middle, a lot of gorgeous art on the walls. The windows are really beautiful, but we were seated kind of midway between the chandelier and the windows, and there wasn't that much theming to be seen. Food-wise, I thought it was about the same quality as Enchanted Garden, but the dishes themselves had a little bit more like zhuzh in the fanciness. I actually really enjoyed my escargot. That was my standout dish from the meal, and I thought the bread service here was really spectacular. Still, it's not going to be a standout meal like Palo or Remy, one of those upcharge meals. The food is still being made like en masse for these huge groups during dinner, which I think can make the quality a little less exciting or just make it feel a little less personal. But The food was all very tasty. Everything was cooked well. It's just cooked to suit more palates, which can make it a little bland if you're a more adventurous eater or you like more exciting flavors. But I had a really delightful meal. I think it was a wonderful experience with a really great atmosphere and some really tasty bites. In the morning on our last day before Palo brunch, we did stop by to get a coffee to hold us over while we waited for that bigger brunch meal. Now, Cove Cafe is kind of an exclusive spot. It is adults only. The coffee here is an upcharge, similar to the coffee bars elsewhere on the ship, but this one is also adults only, so you can go in here, get some time away from kind of the kiddos and the chaos the rest of the ship. It's a beautiful environment on the inside. It's very cool. A lot of the art on the wall, it kind of depicts like different aspects of Disney Cruise Line, which I really liked. And they have this huge coffee bar / spirits bar a little later in the day with pastries in the case as well. The pastries were gorgeous. I got the iced mocha here. This iced mocha, the chocolate sauce didn't really stir in that well. Still, it was very tasty, and I like that it was served in an actual glass. It just felt like a very upscale kind of way to just have my coffee in the morning. After Cove Cafe, we had Palo brunch. Now, Palo brunch is one of those like really special dining experiences on the ship. It is adults only, and it is an upcharge. Palo is named after those long poles that gondoliers used in Venice, and you'll see that this restaurant has a lot of those Italian flares to it. Our booth had this like beautiful marble Italian art that was so gorgeous. There's a chandelier as you walk into the restaurant that's inspired by spaghetti and meatballs, which I want hanging in my house. Palo serves dinner, and then they also serve brunch. So dinner at Palo is that Italian fare, stunningly cooked. It's well known as being just an excellent experience. So Palo brunch starts with a mimosa, and this mimosa was really, really good. I think they had the perfect balance of champagne to orange juice, which I don't often find in my mimosas. Now, we were invited on this cruise as media guests. Thank you to Disney for having us, and Palo was included for us as media. Palo brunch is priced at $45 per person, as is Palo dinner. That mimosa is included in that price, as is pretty much anything you want on the menu, which is really, really cool. The menu is laid out a little uniquely. There's like an egg section, then antipasti and waffles and pancakes, and then entrees, and they recommend you sort of do like 3 things over the course of your meal. Regardless of what you get for your meal, you do start with a breads course, and there's a savory breads course and a sweets bread course. I loved the savory bread. It was life-changing. It was the best carbs I ate on the ship. It was so good. My absolute favorite was that one that has the goat cheese and the onions on top. Super airy, lots of zingy flavors from the onions, creamy flavors from the goat cheese. Then there were the sweet pastries as well, and we were recommended to try the almond croissant. I love almond croissants. Frangipane, that's the like almond cream that's in almond croissants, is one of my favorite things ever. This almond croissant was the best almond croissant I've ever had. Antipasti wise, we did try both of the antipasti. So the seafood antipasti is Jonah crab claw, lemon marinated shrimp, marinated greenlit mussels, spiced ahi tuna, gravlax served with Meyer lemon, saffron aioli, dill honey mustard, and cocktail sauce. I think that any good brunch, any good upscale brunch has some seafood, and since you're literally sailing on the open ocean looking out the windows at the sea, it makes sense to be eating shrimp and crab claws. I will say this one's a little off-putting as it is cold seafood, so if you know you're not a fan of cold seafood, or if you really can only tolerate shrimp cocktail, I would maybe pass on this one. The other antipasti course is a little more familiar. It's meats and cheeses, sliced prosciutto, sliced coppa, sliced breciola, salami gentile, marinated Cerignola olives, roasted garlic, cacciata a tartufo, parmigiano reggiano, and sweet pepper dew. Although I don't really typically think of charcuterie as a brunch food, I really, really enjoyed this as well. Next up, Cassie actually tried the Mickey waffle, which is a really sizable Mickey waffle. It looks like it's about 4 times bigger than the mini Mickey waffles that you get elsewhere on the ship. And you could get it with toppings, so we went with the cinnamon apple topping, which was like cooked apples, and it came with like some cream and some strawberries, and we got to pour it all over that Mickey waffle. Super fluffy, beautiful Mickey waffle covered in apples. Mickey waffles on their own are absolutely amazing, so add the fact that this is like an upscale brunch experience, and that Mickey waffle was chef's kiss. I also got the soup, which this was an interesting soup. It was a celery soup. And everybody questioned me. They were like, why are you getting celery soup? Namely Cassie. She was like, that's a weird thing to get for brunch. And she's correct, but I love celery. And I know that it's mostly tasteless and more of an aromatic, but this had like the beautiful aroma that celery comes with, and it had Italian sausage in there, drizzled with olive oil. Just a beautiful soup. super smooth texturally with just an explosion of flavor. I love soup at all times of day, okay? And I will eat it at brunch. And if you're at Palo Brunch, you should get the celery soup if you like celery, because it is very, very good. The celery soup is served with spiced Italian sausage and focaccia croutons. I was a little disappointed on the entree because I really wanted one of the pasta dishes, but I can't have ricotta, so I ended up having to go with the steak, which is not what I typically would have chosen, but the dishes I wanted all involved ricotta, so of course Disney's amazing about working with allergies like that, and she just let me know that I couldn't do ricotta, so steak it was. A beautiful, huge cut of steak, like massive. This is the grilled cut sirloin steak. It has thyme herb butter, green beans, Barolo wine potatoes. The potatoes were amazing. The steak was spectacularly cooked to order. I will say, I wouldn't get this one again. Everything on the plate is something that people like. It's steak and potatoes, so I think this is more of the picky eater's option. It did not wow me. For her entree, Cassie got the Parmesan crusted chicken breast topped with San Marzano tomato basil sauce and mozzarella cheese over creamy arborio rice risotto. This one was an interesting one because this was highly, highly, highly recommended. It's just chicken parm though. And my thoughts were chicken parm is something that you can get a lot of places and it's very good for cheap. So eating it at this more expensive, adults only sort of classy brunch was a little bit unexpected, I think, but wow, it was so good. The crispiness and the savory flavors of that breading with the sauce, absolutely spectacular. And then finally for dessert at Palo, Cassie went with a chocolate raspberry tart with bitter chocolate creme, raspberry ganache, and vanilla bean gelato. This is a chocolate lover's dream, but not overly rich, which means it was really easy to eat even after this larger brunch meal. And then I went with the buttermilk panna cotta pot with strawberry popping pearls and pistachio crumble. This one I was a little skeptical of because popping pearls isn't something I would typically imagine in a fancier dessert, but the panna cotta was so well made. It was beautiful and luscious and smooth, and the strawberry popping pearls and pistachio crumble added this like earthy fruitiness to it that made it feel like a very higher tier dessert than you would expect, and it was served beautifully. I mean, look at this little cup that it's in with that little chocolate butterfly on top. Absolutely loved it as well. So I really enjoyed my Palo brunch. I think that of the two adults only dining locations, Palo is for one type of person, Remy is for another. If you want that really fine dining experience with the smaller courses and more experimental gastronomic cuisine, go to Remy. If you want more familiar flavors done really, really well with hearty portions, head to Palo Steakhouse. Also, you guys, on one of the antipasti platters, there was a pepper, and I thought it was going to be a sweet peppadew. It was, in fact, a hot peppadew. And we were dining with some of the other media people, and I was crying and trying to keep it under wraps. But I did, didn't I?
Oh, you did. You handled it like a true gracious champ.
Nobody knew that I had eaten the spiciest pepper ever. Our next eat is here at Vanellope's. This is the upcharge dessert location here on the Disney Dream. Gelato, candy, you name it. Well, maybe don't name it, but Vanellope is the adorable character from Wreck-It Ralph. She's over there hanging. King Candy's here, and we're gonna get a pretty massive sundae, and it's a very special one. It comes in a very special bowl. Vanellope's Sweets and Treats has a bunch of different options when it comes to gelato and ice cream. They also have different sundaes that you can kind of build and make decisions on your own. We are grabbing the Vanellope's Go-Kart Sundae, which has 3 scoops of ice cream, 5 toppings, whipped cream, and a cherry, served in a souvenir take-home go-kart. They also have the Ralph's Family Challenge, which is a bigger sundae. It's got 6 scoops of ice cream, 6 toppings, whipped cream, and a cherry, and it's served in this giant take-home souvenir cup, which would be super fun if there weren't just 2 of us. All right, time to go for a bite. I'm starting on the end that has the mango coconut, and of course I'm gonna get one of the Cookie Mickey ears. That's amazing. And the gelato flavor we picked has such tropical flavors, and the toppings are all so good. It's like really fresh fruit. The cookies are really good. All the toppings are like super, super crunchy and adding a really textural fun element. The whipped cream is like high quality. It doesn't taste like out of a can, even though it is kind of out of that big tank thing in there. And the gelato is so creamy and smooth and fruity. This is one of my favorite things I've eaten on the ship so far.
Wow.
I love it. I'm a really big ice cream person though, and gelato is just like next level ice cream. Going for the unicorn. The unicorn is just vanilla. It's a really good vanilla. I would say on its own it would probably taste a little boring, but it's got the super pretty fun colors, and it's a really great vessel for toppings. And then pistachio is one of my favorite ice cream flavors, so I'm really excited for the pistachio. And also I'm excited that Cassie let me get pistachio.
You are welcome.
Ben & Jerry's pistachio is kind of my staple. I like this just as much, if not better. And I think it does have little chunks of pistachio in it. Final thoughts on Vanellope's. I really enjoyed it. I absolutely think it's worth the upcharge. It was an expensive sundae, almost $13, but you're on vacation. I don't know. I think the splurge was worth it. If you're not a huge ice cream person, skip it or grab something out of the bakery case for a little cheaper. They had like macaroons and the cutest cupcakes ever. But I don't know. I really enjoyed Vanellope's.
Or if you want to save money, just get the soft serve.
Oh, true. You can also just get scoops of the soft serve and not get a giant souvenir Vanellope car. Although, do I regret that either? No. All right, our final rotational dining experience is here at Animator's Palette, where we'll get a bit of fusion cuisine inspired by Californian fare and a show at this restaurant, which is why it's the one I'm most excited for. We're going to see Undersea Magic, where characters from Finding Nemo will visit us, and we might even get to talk to Crush. I'm so excited. This is a restaurant I definitely remember from when I was a kid on the Disney Wonder. They have this on all the ships except the Disney Wish, and I have very fond memories of seeing the restaurant come to life around me, so I am so excited for that tonight. The restaurant is supposed to kind of be a love letter of the process of animation, from sketch to ink and paint to the puppeteering of animation, and you can see that it's designed with a lot of artistic details. You've got the Mickey Mouse chairs, the columns are pencils and paintbrushes, there are reels around the ceiling, lots of little models of characters and things like that. A lot to look at in here, and from every table, it's a good seat for the show. All right, Fagacia here, just like the other spots, but the dip here for the bread is a garlic sauce, and look at how creamy it looks. Oh my goodness.
Sounds like a show.
I think something's happening. Let me see. Hello, dude! Hey, Mr. Ray! And Crush, by the way, is not just a recording on a screen. He does actually talk to you. He does respond to what you're saying. Not just you, obviously, but the whole room. But I was eating that garlic. It is so good. It's like a buttery, kind of like milder garlic, which I think like kids would even like it. I told Cassie that like I could drink it, and she agreed. If you like garlic, this dip, maybe ask for extra. All right, this is the Berrylicious. It's a tequila drink made with orange liqueur and passion fruit juice, plus lots of berries. So I'm excited about it. It looks very exciting. Ooh, it's really good. So it's frozen, which I wasn't expecting, but I am really glad it is. I would say you have to like sweeter drinks to like it, but I'm definitely tasting the tequila. So if you're a tequila drinker and you don't mind a little extra fruitiness, this Berrylicious at Animator's Palette might be for you. Who's totally awesome?
I will shout.
I will shout. Dude!
You dudes are awesome.
So for my appetizer here, I got the black truffle pasta persets. These are pasta purses filled with truffle-scented cheese and coated with a delicate champagne sauce. Well, these are kind of a famous Disney Cruise Line eat, sort of like the sea bass I had on the first night. Fancy pasta, cheers. That's so good and cheesy, and I see why it's famous. I can't even really show you what's inside because of how like tightly they're packed. The pasta is super soft. It's like the perfect amount of truffle flavor. Like, I know a lot of people say like truffle is overwhelming, and by a lot of people I mean the judges on Chopped on the Food Network. But I really like truffle, but this seems like the kind of amount of truffle that people who find truffle overwhelming would still like. Now, our Cassie and I got the same thing for the appetizer, that truffle pasta. We got different stuff for our entrees. I got the grilled tuna steak with fingerling confit, caponata, sun-dried tomato pesto, and aioli. Oh, it looks so good. And then Cassie got the ginger teriyaki dusted Angus beef tenderloin, served with wasabi mashed potatoes, bok choy, and a tamarind barbecue reduction. If you've been following along, you may have noticed that Cassie got a steak for every dinner, and I got fish for every dinner. First, I will say to you, it's vacation. Do what you want. Second, I will say that thematically, I was on theme. We've been in the ocean this whole time, and there are no cows in the ocean. And that's just science. Cassie did start dancing in response to her food. Let's see how mine is. Definitely on par with the sea bass from the first night, both of which were better than my salmon at Royal Palace. It's a really juicy, perfectly cooked tuna steak. Lots of really interesting flavors to it. It's not like what I was expecting. Definitely a more Asian-inspired dish. The peppers and veggies are so full of flavor, it just bursts in your mouth. And the confit is so buttery and so well seasoned. This is my favorite thing that I've gotten at any of the rotational dining places, I think. Even better than the sea bass, which I love the sea bass. This tuna steak is killing it. Animator's Palette, great dinner and a show.
Yeah, this has also been my favorite. You know why you dance whenever you have a good meal? It's because it releases happy endorphins. So you do a little dance. Unless you don't dance, in which case, this steak has got to be my favorite. I was a little nervous because it wasn't as deep as my other steaks, but that sauce is just so juicy and decadent. It's a tamarind barbecue reduction. The wasabi mashed potatoes are definitely interesting. I'm not sure if they're going to be everyone's favorite mashed potatoes because it's definitely exactly what it sounds like. It's mashed potatoes that are like flavored wasabi, which might not be for everyone, but I think it's definitely something that would be fun to try. Quincy, I really want you to try these mashed potatoes.
I wasn't listening to her at all, so I have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique combination I would never think to pair.
I really like it now.
You really like it?
I really like it.
I don't dislike it. I'm just not certain how I feel about it.
I'm pro that. It's definitely surprising.
I think it could be divisive, it could be controversial, but again, I think if you're on a cruise, you might as well try new things.
Yeah. You can always get a second entree.
That's true.
Animator's Palette final thoughts. My favorite restaurant of the cruise. The theming is very fun because it is actually a show. I really enjoyed the food here the best of the three, although the food was pretty good at all of them and not mind-blowing at any of them. Really love the food here at Animator's Palette, and the show was super cool. Crush actually talked to tables, actually talked to kids, made some jokes. It was really, really awesome. I will say I have very, very fond memories of Animator's Palette on The Wonder when I went on that as a kid, and The Wonder and the Magic have Animator palettes that are black and white when you enter, and over the course of your meal turn to color, and that for me was a lot more magical than this sort of under the sea experience. So if that has any effect on your ship choice, just know that the Animator's Palette here does not offer that same experience. The Animator's Palette definitely won my rotational dining circuit. To learn more about Disney Cruises, head over to AllEars.net to see our full website section on Disney Cruise Line, and now go watch my review of the brand new Disney ship, the Disney Wish. See you there!